Once upon a time, I got a decent amount of views on my last Halo video, so I decided to give it another go with the next mission of Halo 3. Today, you will be watching my efforts to complete the level Crow's Nest on Legendary using only an assault rifle. And I know, I did this challenge in the past, but I've never done it quite like this, because the difference this time is that I will only be using the assault rifle and no other weapon. No grenades, no turrets, and I will not be personally deploying any equipment. Equipment that the Covenant deploys that ends up being in my favor is fine because I'm not killing them. They just decided to commit suicide at the sight of me. Melee hits are fine because Mr. 117 clearly bashes his enemy's skulls in with the butt of his weapon, showing that he still kills them with the assault rifle, just not with its bullets. Why the heck am I doing this, you may ask? Well, I like suffering. That's why I spent over 6 hours doing the last challenge. Just look at my playtime in the last video. But why I started doing this challenge series is because the Master Chief's canonical weapon, his favorite weapon, is the assault rifle, despite the many claims that it is a piece of garbage. Well, I'm here to show you that the Master Chief is morally and factually right, and to give the assault rifle a better reputation and a one that it deserves. That didn't make any sense. Whatever, I don't care. With the end of that introduction, let's freaking do it. Anyways, for the first section, I always prepare by giving my Marines one assault rifle and one battle rifle. The battle rifle could do some work, but the assault rifle could always lay down some fire. But since there was only one brute in this section, looking back, I would have probably just given them both battle rifles to take out the grunts and the jackals. I wouldn't have too much trouble killing these grunts, but I kept running into the legendary problem where as soon as I stuck my head out, all of my shields would be gone. So I would have to hug some cover almost constantly. After a few tries of just running in the middle, my strategy boiled down to pushing up far enough so that the Marines don't get blasted by grenades, but allowing them to get close enough to throw grenades of their own, avoiding fratricide, and rushing the brute so that he didn't just end up ending me or my Marines. Killing the brute first also made the grunts go into a panic, which made picking them off pretty easy, but I would be lying if I said they didn't catch me off guard a few times. Still, I killed them all, I never died to them. The hallway gave me Sierra 117 flashbacks since the jackals killed me, a lie. It was frustrating because I would clear the big hallway with the vehicles, get all the way to the jackals, then get demolished by their carbines, and go all the way back to the start, witnessing those poor souls dying to a grunt over and over again. After a few tries, and one of my human shields taking one for the team, I pushed through and cleared the first section. Now, I was pretty scared about this part taking forever, but it was actually a bit quicker than the first section. Don't quote me on that, I didn't do any math, it just felt quicker. Still, it gave me some trouble. The strategy I had for getting past the first few jackals and grunts was simple. Take out the first jackal I see with 2 bursts and a punch. Move on to the 2 grunts on the right, avoid fratricide, kill the middle jackal, and usually just 1 grunt on the left because the Marines would manage to kill at least 1. Thanks, I guess. I tried to remember to shoot all the fusion coils to avoid blowing myself up later, but looking back, the one in the middle of the hangar would have been useful if I used it strategically. So, I was worried about this part because I would always stay on the turrets, but it actually benefited me to stay off of them. The Covenant would pretty much prioritize the player rather than the Marines, and usually I would struggle with the turrets because they would always break, but with the Marines on them instead, they were actually pretty useful the entire time. While I laid down some fire from cover, the Marines used grenades and the turrets to finish off a lot of the enemies. It took me a few tries to get a checkpoint, but at this point I fine-tuned my strategy. Go to the last phantom, wait for the enemies to drop out, take out the brute if available, avoid fratricide, and beat everyone else to death. Several deaths later, I finally finished the hangar section and with a few Marines to spare. I usually save more, but I was thoroughly surprised I was able to save any at all. The 2 Marines on the turrets really put work in and were able to get out of the hangar safely, and after a few victory teabags, I searched around for some ammo, picked up a deployable cover just in case, and made my way to the dreaded bugger part. Now this part I did not expect to be able to pass, or at least make it through with a single Marine left alive. Usually I place a deployable cover in front of the turret and use it against the drones, but even then I still lose a few Marines. That's why I grabbed the deployable cover earlier, just in case the drones proved to be impossible to surmount. Now, while it did take me a few tries, it was surprisingly pretty easy, or at least way easier than I thought it'd be. The drones went down pretty quick with the assault rifle, and despite what I said earlier, focused a lot on the Marines. My strategy was going behind the pillar on the left to avoid the temptation to use the turret. That's not the right direction, it was the right. But I used my Ultra Instinct to make my way through the section. Finally, I passed the section, but seeing the area pretty empty, I felt that there was something missing. So I thought that it would be a good idea to go back a checkpoint and try to save the Marines this time. After a few tries, I surprisingly was able to. The only thing I really changed in my strategy was being more aggressive, even when my shields were down. I was even able to save the sergeant that almost dies every time, almost immediately. I found out that if you go up to him after the section, he actually makes a comment about it. I had no idea. I lost the beginning of the footage of this section, but you really don't miss much. I just grabbed some ammo, listen to Johnson, and get ready to take on this brute section that I knew that was going to give me some trouble. My first strategy was waiting behind this crate for the first 3 brutes to get into position and then taking them from behind. But I had trouble with this strategy because the spikers are actually pretty overpowered against the Master Chief on Legendary. Just look at this example. I'm jumping along, I have a full bell of health, and then I don't. Still, if I had just kept repeating this strategy, I'm sure I would have gotten it eventually with a bit of luck. But since I've done this section time and time again, I decided to change it up a bit. After I got this checkpoint, I decided to just charge these 2 brutes and hopefully kill them with 3 taps on their rears, but the most I could kill is 2. I thought that the brute shot was the most threatening to me, but I now realize that I should have focused more on the spikers because of what I had said earlier. At least out of my shenanigans, I got to practice this move where I jump over an enemy so that I'm behind him, and I turn my camera so that I'm facing them, which gives me the opportunity to assassinate them. I don't know what this move is called, but I've seen other people use it, on me especially, and I finally wanted to master it. It's pretty easy when you claw your controller. Bumper jumper is gay, but I couldn't get it every time because of a technicality in the game. I could be just a few pixels off and it would insta-kill the brute. But then I can seemingly hit him in the exact same spot and the opposite effect happens. I still kept having trouble not getting melted since I was in the middle of everyone, and I tried focusing on the brutes to the left, but whenever I jumped, I would be exposed for too long and die most of the time. But I also figured out that if you cross the yellow line on the ground, the bunker shakes and stuns the enemies for a split second, but it doesn't stun the chief because his balls are just too heavy, I guess. At some point, I just said screw it and charged the brute chieftain, and that was the most successful I was. So I changed up my strategy again and just headed toward the brute chieftain. You know, I could have passed this section a long time ago using the same strategy I was at the beginning, considering how many times I died, because I died a lot. But for some reason, I had to do it in the most stupidest way possible because I'm just too stupid to do it the easier way. Anyways, I would charge the chieftain, kill the guy on the left, jump, and hope the hammer chucks me forward instead of deleting me. Killing the chieftain would open the door, unleashing more of the brutes, so I tried to save the chieftain for last. This part was actually pretty hard. After winning the mini chieftain boss battle, I would somehow always get killed by the door brutes. Then again, I would do stuff like charge in there or get in the middle of them. Nah, they were just lucky. I tried a few things like hiding behind the door, charging in there, or using some boxes in the corner as cover, though they didn't always stay there all the time. The boxes seemed to be the most successful strategy, but the run that I actually passed the section with was when there weren't even there in the corner, and so I had to use the door. Using some Chief Kwando, I beat the door brutes to death, and looking back, I was pretty lucky, and I definitely should have died. Somehow, these brutes missed their punches, and when I got hit by the final brute that was berserking, I had just enough health to survive. Still, it was pretty anticlimactic compared to my other runs. I got a checkpoint, went back for more, and killed the other brutes. After a victory teabag, I forgot to snag the hammer for the Arbiter. I really wanted to see him use it, but it was too late and the game wouldn't let me go back a checkpoint. But I had finally finished the section. Next was the barracks. I was worried about this part too, because it either takes me forever or like 5 minutes. This time around, it took me about 12, even though I still died a lot. This section actually turned out to be pretty fun. Making my way through the barracks, I boxed the 3 brutes that were torturing this Marine. I scriptedly watched this Marine get killed, but avenged him by double teaming the brute with Arby. Eventually I learned that I should take out the jackals up here and maintain the high ground. Here I watched as the Marines and Arbiter did some work, jumped down, which allowed these brutes to have the high ground and gave them the Anakin Skywalker special. Then in the next life, I became a master of the high ground and Obi-Wan Kenobi'd them. Next, I utilized the bubble shields that the brutes kept graciously deploying for me as cover and evicted them out of their homes. I saved the Marines, failed at avoiding fratricide, and had a mini boss battle with the brute chieftain. After killing the last jackal, I counted my Marines and prepared them for war. The most I've ever saved in the barracks was 5, and all were accounted for. I'm pretty sure that's the max number you can save because I've never saved more than that, but I never really cared enough to confirm that number. Either way, it was surprisingly one of the easiest runs I had through the barracks section. Usually, I arm my Marines with 2 assault rifles, 1 SMG, 1 battle rifle, and 1 carbine. Lastly, after learning the trick about the Arbiter from my last video, I found a brute shot, committed the most heinous crime, and armed my dinosaur for war. We headed out the door, and I completed the barracks section. Next was the brute jetpack section. This was probably the easiest, since I did it in 1 run. The only thing I really had to worry about was fratricide, and as long as I stayed away from the brutes, I didn't have to worry about getting grenaded by the Marines. So the Arbiter and the Marines pretty much did most of the work. Giving Arby the brute shot ended up being a pretty big deal, and we passed the section pretty easily. But something was wrong. Johnson wasn't calling in on the radio, and everyone was standing around waiting for something. At first I thought everyone was just shocked because the Arbiter tried to murder the Marines, but could I blame him? I did kill him like 2 minutes ago. I took the opportunity to round up the assault rifles I gave the Marines and collect some ammo. Finally, I went upstairs to see what the brutes were doing, but there was just one left. It turned out he saw his packmates get absolutely wrecked and wisely stayed away, but he could not escape Arbiter's bloodthirst for long. Finally, I completed the section and moved on to blowing up the bunker. I got pretty cocky facing the first few jackals, but after surviving that event, Master Chief's boss propelled me to the Grunt Man plasma cannon, even though my shields weren't fully charged, and promptly got me killed. After getting a taste of humility, it took me just a few tries to complete the section. Some grunts got lucky, I got lucky, then unlucky, but my biggest concern in this section were the jackal snipers, of course. Shooting the grunt turrets from afar, I was able to kill 1 jackal from a crate that was out of their range. Still, they managed to take some pot shots every now and then, which made me poop a little bit each time. Finally, the second jackal got wise and actually went downstairs while the grunts pinned me down. Then, when I was at least expecting it, the jackal got a good shot on me, and I had to start the section all over. Dang it. This time around, I tried to ignore the grunts as much as possible. I got impatient and focused on the jackals. Again, I killed the first one, and after a while, the second again got wise and went downstairs. The grunts were getting annoying, so I killed a few of them, but made sure to pay attention to when the jackal came down. Then I proceeded to play whack-a-mole with him, my role was the mole, until he was dead. I cleaned up the grunts, collected some ammo, and finally I completed the jackal sniper section. Again, I expected this last section to be really hard because of the fuel rod brute chieftain. I had picked up the invisibility equipment earlier, just in case I couldn't pass this section. My first run was a test to see how far I could go going balls out in the room, but my first run was actually the best outcome I ever had playing this mission, hands down. I interrupted their party, jumped over the staircase, killed one of the brute shots, and slapped my balls across the chieftain's face. He was so scared, he crapped out a power drainer and proceeded to have a heart attack as he fell forward. Next, I paused a moment to let my shields recharge before I faced the brute on the plasma cannon. I was also pretty stunned at my own performance. I went up the stairs cocky, but the plasma cannon had more of a rotation than I thought. But that didn't deter the chief. No, his trusty assault rifle proved to be the best tool for the job, and he finished off the brute by bashing his skull in. Next, I cleaned out the room from a distance because my high was gone. When the grunts took cover, I carefully approached them, looking out for the other brute, but it turns out that he was already dead. I guess I looked out and the power drain killed him while I wasn't looking, so I armed the bomb and proceeded to the end. I opened the door to the bugger room, and this grunt tried to end my streak, but I ultra instinct his grenade and proceeded to beat him and his buddies to death. Then I went up the ramp on the right and killed some birds, made it through a tunnel that looked all too familiar, and I tried to be Lord of the Flies, but failed and almost died. And then the grunts got wise and tried to kill me, so I killed them. I went into the hangar and tried to ignore all the enemies, but for some reason, these jackals kept trying to kill me. so I killed them. But the grunts got wise again, and for the first time, my ball sucked up into me as I made a retreat, but died anyways because a blast from a plasma pistol nicked me around a deployable cover. Well, that was anticlimactic. There's also a lot of balls jokes in this, huh? When I had to start over, I was pissed. So this time, I tried to kill everyone, but the grunts took a final stand and held me back for a while. But once I flanked them and made it to the elevator, the last few grunts made a wise decision and waited for me to send them on their great journey. Finally, I stepped into the elevator, pushed the button, watched the fireworks, and I beat Crow's Nest on Legendary using only the iconic assault rifle. Not gonna lie, this is probably the easiest mission in the game, or at least the easiest to only use the assault rifle on. The next mission I'm actually kinda scared of because it mostly involves vehicles, so unless I come up with some cryptic rules, I might be doing the whole mission on foot. Or you guys could let me know the rules of vehicle sections in this game in the comments below. These videos take a lot of effort, believe it or not, so if you guys would like to see more, maybe I could do the whole campaign this way. Please like, subscribe, and comment what other challenges you would like to see me do. Alright, I'll see you later. Bye.